All right. Hi, everyone. I hope this finds you in good health, secure. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your practice. Thank you also, if you want to take a moment before we get going here, to like and subscribe this video. That's a bit of a bodhisattva effort because we do that in order to grow this Sangha, to make it become more available in the search criteria with the algorithms of YouTube, right? So that's propagation. We're not a huge channel yet, but we're growing, and the more we grow and the more likes and subscribes and comments and notification, all that stuff helps us promote, grow our Sangha all over the world. We're everywhere on the planet. That's amazing. So thank you for that. Thank you for buying books. That helps support this channel, right? The ebooks on threefoldlotus.com as well as the print books on lulu.com, yeah? All right, so I want to talk about something today. We're starting a new series about karma. A very, very misunderstood topic. It goes every which way. Sorry, my eyes are really bothering me this morning. Anyway, yeah, so I want to start with just a brief kind of grounding, everyday, non-Buddhist specific discussion, just to as a mental exercise for you to keep in mind. We hear statements, language. Language is at best finger pointing us in a direction, yeah? The lighting seems a little strong here. Okay, anyway. And I just watched a program on PBS, Nova, to be more specific. If you look this up on YouTube or wherever on the internet, PBS Nova has a program, and I wish now I could remember the exact title, but it's on how the brain works. And, the program starts out talking about how the brain and its, has more neural connections than there are stars in our entire galaxy, in our entire galaxy, the Milky Way, right? It's just, you start talking numbers about the brain and it breaks the brain. It's unfathomable. It's very much the rhetoric of Buddhism, yeah? Okay. But here's the essential point. The mind being an emergent property from this busy physical thing called the brain, which is physical only because we can see it, touch it, remove it from the skull. But what happens in the brain is bioelectric energy affecting chemistry and chemical associations. And somehow in that insane rapid fire cloud of electricity energy emerges a picture of the world, a picture of self, a picture of identification in order to situate, right? Remember, the brain is in a enclosed skull, completely dark, right? Completely divorced of its own sensations, right? How many programs have we watched, movies have we watched where the brain can be sliced and diced while the person is awake, you would say conscious, doesn't feel a thing, right? It has no sensory organ of its own. It depends on the neural network in the body, consisting of the eardrums and the eyeballs and the flesh and on, right? Wow, Chloe. Oh, my little dog. Anyway, she has such a hard time breathing. Anyway, apologies for that interruption. I don't want to talk about the whole system. I just want to point something out, that the brain, and they identify it in this program, is not a perceiver of anything. What? Yeah, that's normally how we think of it, right? We think, and this is the point I want to make, the thoughts that we think we have are at best a pastiche of what we call information, a collection of decisions, really, in our brains that we invest in as truth. And it's not because we're stupid. It's just that's how, as animals, we survive. We know our environment. We know to put ham and cheese in our mouth or broccoli in our mouth rather than paint thinner and, right, rocks. How do we know that? How do we make those decisions? Now, here's the additionally curious thing, is the brain, through our eyes, through our ears, through our so on, senses, receives information and makes it information for us to act on, not in the moment. Right? We hear this rhetoric all the time, live in the moment, live in the moment. But we're never in the moment. Never in the moment. The brain is a predictive machine. Not only is it very narrow in what it perceives, extrapolating everything around it, right? One of the examples this program shows is that the eyeball only sees, if you hold your thumb way out as far as you can from your body and you look at the width of your thumbnail, that's about 1 degree of vision. And that is the only place that your eyeball actually sees with precision, detail, or receives reflected light waves in detail, because it's your brain that makes up color. It's not there. Yeah, I talk about that in my art programs also. The color we assign to things is anything but what it is. But that's a different discussion. My point is, and what I'm extrapolating from this show, is the reason that we can get out of the way of something that suddenly appears like a branch or anything else that we suddenly avoid is because our brain is predictive. It takes whatever information is coming in at the moment and predicts what happens next. What happens next? Well, isn't that interesting? How many times have I said we live moment to moment, and to get into enlightenment, into Buddha-ness, we need to disconnect from the moment, this moment and the previous, the past, and focus on movement into the next moment, the next moment. This is how we perceive karma, right? Energy plus action. And we can predict, inform, influence into the next moment. This is how we interact with our karma, our energy, our freight train of karma, right? The same way that the brain works. Why? Of course that makes sense, because the mind is an emergent property of that brain. So if we can live life, our experience of life, in the way the brain is actually designed, by taking control of that mind, and instead of letting it be an emergent property of the brain, feed back from that emergent property back into the brain, we can then experience life as it truly is behaving, living it, being aware of it as it manifests, instead of relying on the database, the warehouse of judgments, identification, the past. I mean, more and more science is just proving Shakyamuni out. So understanding these things about the physical body, it's interesting, and it may give us insights, and I hope it does. But I think it's important to understand this in relation to energy plus action, karma. So as we dive into these Go shows where Nichiren talks about different aspects of karma within his milieu, right? Within the confines of medieval Japan and what people are accustomed to discussing in order to understand their experience of life. Nichiren is going to use all sorts of teachings, analogies, quotes, and so forth, that if you don't have a clear understanding on how the brain and the mind work, or karma for that matter, the stories and these writings of Nichiren and Shakyamuni and so forth can seem like they're just adding layers of complexity, and it can get misleading, confusing, and then we're left with our wonderful brains to latch on to certain words as, oh, that's key, when in fact it's just a word, and that it's a word that's a translation of a linguist who's trying to translate from other languages and remnants of things written that are themselves perhaps also translations, right? So we need to get to the core. We need to understand, what is this about? And it starts with energy and action. So I'm going to read the foreword to the book that I just put online called What is Karma? And I try, because I could have here a retreat, they call it, and invite you guys over, and we could have all these wonderful yurts or cabins, and every morning we get together and do some qigong stretches and some breathing exercises, maybe take a little walk, and then sit down and chant together and start to speak on karma. And we could probably talk about this subject until I expire. It's endless, because karma, energy plus action, is ongoing, is life itself. It's an endless topic. So, given that, and given my maybe my propensity for long-winded discussions, can I say it that way? I've tried to be brief and explore karma in a large sense and in a specific sense without being the whole book just me talking on karma, right? Because the book, after all, is Nichiren on karma. But here's the foundation I want us to work on. So what is karma, anyway? Karma is not cause and effect. Right away, some of you may be going, what? It's not what I was taught. Well, it's okay. It's okay. You may have been misled. You may have made that decision on your own. I don't fault you. There's a lot of misleading information out there, yeah? So just follow along with me, but please take note. These are very specific statements I'm saying, because they form our impression of what karma is. Karma is not cause and effect. Karma is not good or bad or indifferent. You can't assign a personality and characteristics to karma. It's energy plus action. Karma is not retribution, although we see that word a lot. It's not a behavior or an act of will or bad habit or human vice, right? Oh, that's your karma. How many times do we use karma that way, right? It's your karma to be a jerk, right? Right? Karma, in bold letters here, is momentum. Now, momentum can have a lot of adjectives, but the adjectives ain't it. Momentum is momentum. Momentum is what you're experiencing right now. We are experiencing. Hell, this video is experiencing, but it doesn't have a consciousness to experience with, right? We live in a period of human development when very few of us are unfamiliar with the terminologies of science in our daily speech. I want to speak in terms familiar to as many of us as I can, so this writing will include many familiar concepts and terms in order to provide a working mental framework for insight into the nature of karma. I'm already apologizing. Buddhist thought and deeper understanding of the discussion of karma. I am not inventing some pseudoscience here to upset the academic pursuits of the scientific discoveries. Rather, I am applying some attributes of scientific method to construct a logical mental exercise to grasp the profound significance of Buddhist thought and understanding of the engine of life. Our story begins with energy. Karma is, as stated above, momentum. But momentum of what? Energy is not a thing or things. Energy can only be perceived or known or measured when it is expressed. So how is energy expressed? To understand this, we must look at nothing. Nothing, as we perceive it, is empty space. But here is where I begin to ask of you to consider these questions and words more deeply. For instance, if nothing is empty space, then what is space? And where did it come from? And if space is empty, then what was emptied? Let me offer you a different description of nothing. Nothing is an equilibrium, a balance between is and is not. Those of you who are familiar with quantum will go, oh, I get what he's saying, right? This is what quantum wrestles with. This might bring to mind the quantum sciences of matter-antimatter, pairs, right? Pairings of energy. And this is exactly where we're headed. I have many times in the past introduced the term quiescent energy. Another way to express this is energy at rest. Sounds like a terrible contradiction, doesn't it? Such is the struggle of language to define reality. How can it be energy and at rest at the same time? Equilibrium. Energy at rest may seem to the human sentient mind as though it is nothing, but in fact, this energy is in a condition of stasis or inaction. No influence or catalyst has been applied. Nothing, as defined above, is a state of equilibrium. and equilibrium of is and isn't, of matter and antimatter, an indecision of potentials, if you will. Take a moment to digest this, right? Now we reach a deeper understanding with words that allows us to identify nothing as potential. It's a different way to understand nothing. Potential is a way of thinking that everything, anything can manifest, just hasn't yet. Potential is the word we use to define the unexpressed, the uninstantiated, the open door of all phenomena to become, to be expressed, to manifest. The Buddhist formula looks like this: energy, potential; action, influence, agitation, introduction of conditions, results in formations, tendencies, amalgams, momentum, to then form, or expression, or manifest, or dissolve. We learn this in Buddhism in the early teachings of the Nidana, or the 12-linked causal chain. This can be understood as a study in kinetics. Remember kinetics as the statement that objects at rest tend to stay at rest, while objects in motion tend to stay in motion, affected only by other or external forces. Let's review. Quiescent energy is energy at rest, or tends to stay at rest. Quiescence is nothing, though we label it as... quiescence is not nothing, can't read my own, though we label it as nothing. Nothing is actually the non-expression of potential, or as Nagarjuna might say, nothing is a condition of empty or non-formations. Now emptiness, the concept of emptiness, starts to hopefully ring a little differently in our minds, yeah? An introduction of the new conditions, action, immediately precipitates tendencies, formations, kinetics, things start to move, into expression and instantiation, form. Now, it's important to understand when I say form here, and I'm removing myself from this introduction here, form is not a static thing. This process, moment to moment to moment to moment, is constantly happening. That's why we are being. We don't just be. We're a process, constantly. Form is an expression in a moment and re-expressed in the next moment. Very important. I should add that to this, actually. Now I'll continue. This activity of formations manifests within a condition of time-space, momentum. That is our sentient mind's perceptive cognitive method of experiencing all manifestations of potential in relation to ourselves. Also a manifestation of that process, yes? Time-space defines for us the momentum of life. That's all time-space is. It's a method of measurement and recording. So the effective result of all this cerebration is that the formula or activity of quiescence plus influence, creating formations, leading to form, is the perception of energies in momentum or karma. This karma is both personal and environment as the two experiences of the same thing. Right? One is being in it, and one is seeing being in it. But remember what I said about the brain, what we see is very superficial and very 1% of the total. How can we perceive the whole enchilada clearly? Surely we cannot rely on our senses, our brains. We must shift to a larger, more unencumbered tool. The mind has this potential. It always has had this potential, but it's never used in samsaric daily life because the 1% is all we need to survive. With Buddhism, with Shakyamuni's insight, we can transcend that 1% understanding of the world to use our minds, our emergent minds' properties, to understand and experience much, much more. So karma is the momentum of life. All right. How then can karma be labeled bad or good? It's just the momentum of life. What we generally mean when we say bad or good is a judgment of human behavior in thought or word or deed. In other words, the tendencies, habits, actions taken by persons that result in life-affirming, dignity, compassionate, humane actions, or their opposite. Right? It's all based on our survival, our samsaric existence. That's how we judge good or bad. But a mind that perceives all of the life energy isn't myopic and focused simply on the existence of self and survival. It's much larger, right? It sees the entirety of the functions of life, the universe itself, let alone one another, as part and parcel of being. It's not separate. It is life itself. This is an understanding that leads us to the second definition of karma, often confused with the first understanding of karma. The second aspect or definition of karma has to do with accumulation. Here is where Buddhism accounts for the huge amalgam of energies with their kinetics, conditions, and tendencies that expressed momentum as the conscious being you identify as a self, and additionally as the ongoing and active consciousness, the eighth or alaya consciousness, collecting, adding influences and actions we take in each moment of our human sentient existence. This aspect of karma is both an expression of the collective karma that we are the formations of, as well as the additions and influences we impart through our moment-to-moment actions. Now that's where we're more familiar or discursive about karma, right? But without understanding the first part, the second part can get very confused. In Nichiren doctrine, we often separate these two aspects of karma as the karmic energy or engine specific to our identification, or Ichinen Sanzen, our freight train of karma, or karma with a big K, and our day-to-day actions as cause-effect contributions to our lives as karma with a small k. Now, it's important to understand, karma is not the actions, the cause and effect. Cause and effect are the actions we take. Conscious, samsaric, mental actions we take. That impart, color, affect our karmic engine of life. The two are not the same. one affects and influences the other. Your freight train of karma will parameterize your experience, and your actions in your experience will feed back on your karma, right? It's a loop. This can be misleading and confusing, though, as I hope you can see by now that the separation is illusory. Cause and effect, a popular topic for Buddhists, is often misunderstood as karma. Let's be clear on this. Firstly, actions and their effects are actually so instantaneous as to be the same thing. Right? What we call cause and effect is actually the same thing. It's an input. Why two words then to define the same thing? Action is a condition introduced to an existing momentum, and its effect on that momentum is immediately incurred, right? If a ball is rolling down the street and you stick your finger out just enough to touch the side of the ball as it goes by, that cause has an immediate effect. You can see it, feel it, right? How it manifests, if it manifests, or how maybe you missed the ball, how it accumulates with the momentum is an innumerable mix of tendencies and conditions, right? In the Buddhist discussion of living a full life, this concept of cause-effect is a discussion of the thoughts, words, or deeds we commit to in our life. These actions are, by definition, acted upon something else, and this something else is the momentum, karma, the collection of energies that we are an expression of, or, as we've stated, karma. This becomes very obvious when we study the central concept and guiding principle of the scholarship known as the 3,000 realms in a single thought moment of life. The 3,000 realms is the concept referred to as Ichinen Sanzen. It is Nichiren's discussion on the energies inherent in all life, as well as in each individual, which is present in our lives before our human birth, and that we contend within our daily experience of human life. With this dual concept of karma, we can identify tendencies in our behavior as well as gain insight into aspects of our lives we experience as struggles. Our individual life is a momentum of energies collected and manifest into human existence via the human womb. As a sentient being, we have the unique opportunity to interact with the energies that form our experience of life, karma with a big K. All of the interactions we take from thoughts, dreams, words, etc., while our sentience exists, is the human realms of cause and effect. This action-taking activity is our contribution to influence our momentum of sentient life. We have a choice to follow our tendencies in various conditions as they present themselves to us, or to modify, ignore, or contradict our tendencies. We do this anyway, right? Even without Buddhist practice, we do this all the time. What teenager hasn't gone through this self-evaluation, deciding I can't do that anymore? Why does this keep happening, right? Our mind is there and it's trying to do it. The problem is that without Buddhist thought, we're kind of trapped in the samsaric survival loop. Hard to see outside of it with our 1% perception of what's going on. Each choice imprints a modifier upon our repository of karma, that eighth consciousness, and then expresses itself throughout our karmic momentum, right? Take that ball rolling down the hill again. If you splatter it with blue paint, that blue paint's going to take a long time to wear off, if it ever does. That's our physical experience, yeah? Our Buddhist practice is then our method for instantiating the ninth consciousness of our mind, of clear understanding of this karmic momentum, both in ourselves and environment or others, to influence and to experience karma as non-threatening, and rather as amazing opportunity to witness the immeasurable manifestations of potential that life presents us. To awaken this open door of the sentient mind is Gohonzon, while the actual experience of this open-minded perception of life freed of tendencies is Buddha. Freed of tendencies might sound odd, but let's consider that our everyday thought processes are firmly tied to our karma and identifications, that database. So, to be freed from tendencies and our karmic constructions of samsara is in fact a condition of full potential experience, not limited by our survival mode collection of data. Life, in all its expressions, is a glorious process of potential and precious in its moment-to-moment appearance and disappearance of a very temporary sentient mind to witness. For more on Gohonzon, by the way, please read the book Nichiren on Mandala and Gohonzon, available on the ebooks page at threefoldlotus.com, or watch the playlist on YouTube, Mandala versus Gohonzon, or download the podcast at the Buddhahood Podcast. And that's how I end my introduction to this new volume collection of Nichiren writings about karma. And just to finish this video, I'm going to run down, I think it might be helpful as an introduction, to run down the table of contents so you know what we're going to be reading here. On prolonging one's lifespan, I get questions about that a lot. On offering daimoku through the mandala of the wonderful and difficult to understand law. Letter to the brothers. Oh, that's a big one. The true aspect of all phenomena. How could he not be discussing karma there? Letter to Niike, the place of the cluster of rewards, lessening one's karmic retribution. There's that retribution word. Let's find out what this translation is really saying. The heritage of the ultimate law of life, the daimoku of the Lotus Sutra, 4 debts of gratitude, the recitation of the expedient means and lifespan chapters, Gongyo. On curing karmic disease, reply to Yasaburo and the bow and the arrow. So those are the gosho we're going to read and analyze here. I'm excited to start this series, start talking about it. I have no idea how many videos this is going to take to do that, but I'm excited to have you along with the journey and entertain your comments, as I'm sure you'll have some opinions, some thoughts, some questions as we go. This is a very core topic and with a lot of false rhetoric out there. So let's sift through it. Let's sift through the translation of the Nichiren's words with the concept of karma firmly in mind, energy plus actions, momentum. Karma is the momentum, the thing that goes into the next moment. Yes? How do we recognize it? How do we work with it? How do we affect it? I mean, that's core Buddhism, right? All right. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your practice. And again, as a reminder, your support is critical to keep growing this Sangha and keeping this channel alive. I rely totally on you guys. I have no other means of support. I'm totally invested in emulating as best I can, as Nichiren implores us, exhorts us to. Thank you, Nichiren. Thank you, Shakyamuni. And thank you. Yeah? Take care of your health. And in the next one, we'll start on this collection of Nichiren's writings. Bye for now.